Hello. So today we're going to talk about employees who aren't performing to your standards or employees who aren't getting the results that you are expecting or employees who aren't living up to your expectations for them in this particular role. So if you have someone like this, you have found yourself in a dilemma. And it is the can't do versus won't do dilemma, meaning if what you are expecting or the results that you are not getting from this particular employee, is this something, are you asking them to do something that they can't do? Or are you asking them to do something that they won't do? So we first have to delineate that. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to share my screen and kind of walk through some questions to help you discern what you're dealing with. So with the can't do employee, the can't do employee are those employees that aren't clear on their role or their responsibilities. So we want to make sure that they're clear, that what I'm asking you to do is within the scope of the role and responsibilities for this particular job. And this is what I want the job to look like when you perform this job. If the job is waiting on customers, then I expect you to, this is the standards of good performance. I expect you to smile, give direct eye contact, speak in clear sentences with people if it's appropriate, depending on the role. I expect you to stand. So if they can't do those things, if it's not within their wherewithal to smile at people or engage people, and it's probably not the role for them. They can't do the job if they're unclear regarding what the rules and procedures are. And they're not going to be able to, they can't do the job if they don't receive feedback or they receive feedback ineffectively on how they do it. So anything on this, that's our problem as managers and bosses to fix. So if they lack clarity on their role and responsibilities, that's my job to make sure they're clear. It's my job that they understand what the standards of good performance look like. It's my job to make sure they're clear on what the rules and procedures are. And I do that by going through that and over that in orientation and again, to make sure that there is that clarity and that level of understanding. And I need to give them feedback on how they're doing and being honest with people. So obviously we know people apply for jobs and are put in roles because of what we think they're going to do. And then we see what they can or can't do, and then we have to make adjustments from there. So that's the can't do employee. And anything on this list that they can't do, that's on us to make sure they get the training, the appropriate training, resources, feedback, and mentoring in order coaching to do the job. All right, the won't do employee is, let me see how to advance this. Oh, I won't do. Oh, whoops. The won't do employee. These are the people we hire and they can do the job, but they won't do the job. And why won't they do the job? Well, there's reasons why people won't do the job. They lack self-initiative or motivation. I call these the I need a buddy syndrome. And these are the people that we hire. You expect them to have enough self-initiative and wherewithal to act independently, but they don't. They need a buddy. And a lot of times we see this perhaps with new supervisors or somebody new to a management role, and that they're not confident in their abilities. And so they always want to do it with somebody, or they might be new to their role and they want somebody to do it with them. So you always see them with somebody or depending on somebody to be with them in order to do their job successfully. Could be anything. Could be somebody at a cashier station and they're not confident in how to bring up a sale, or they're not confident in how to take an order. And so they need somebody there. That would tell me that's somebody who needs more training. Okay, another won't do is an employee is set on a particular structure or a way of doing business. And we know that business can be very, very fluid and that the change is constant. We're always updating processes, procedures, ways of doing things, always striving for improvement. And if you have somebody who won't change and go along with new structures or ways of doing business, then this is somebody who they're capable, but they won't do it because they want to keep things the way they were. You could have somebody, an employee, who no longer supports the mission or direction of leadership. Perhaps it's a new leader, and new leaders typically bring new ways of doing things, and the employee no longer supports the way things are going. Where the one before that, this one, a particular way, they might not support how things are being done. They might no longer support the way in which things are being done. And perhaps your employee won't do what you're asking them to do because they're experiencing personal problems or family problems or situations at home that aren't disclosed to you, that are keeping them preoccupied and keeping them from performing the job at hand. Or you have an employee that lacks the confidence to take on new challenges or learn new skills needed to perform the role. And this one, again, with new employees, it could be somebody new to a department or somebody new to you, new to the organization altogether. But again, things change and we need people to step up and take on new challenges and new responsibilities. Or learn a new skill, learn a new computer application, and they need it in order you went on to a new system and they need to perform that within their role, and they're just not willing to learn to do that. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second here. So what I like to call that is that we have an opportunity to really bring somebody on fully to be successful, or we're going to end this relationship and find a more suitable place for them to express their skills and their strengths. So could be, again, if it's a can't do, it's on us. And if they still can't perform the job, then we can help move them to an area where they can be more successful, either within the organization or outside of the organization. They might just need to find another job, but that happens all the time. But we don't need to be dismissive of that or make them wrong or make them bad. It just wasn't a good fit. If it's somebody who won't do the job, then we need to create what's typically called a performance improvement plan. I don't call them performance improvement plans. I call them a success plan. And it's something they will write. If they've taken employment with you for reasons that were important and meaningful to them, then we want to help them be successful in this role. So if we are sure they are capable of doing the job, and these are just simply things that they won't do due to insecurity or any of those other things on the list, then we're going to start a conversation. I'm going to share my screen again. So what does that conversation look like? The conversation starts with, advance to the next slide here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sit down with them and we're going to start the conversation with the mindset that we are engaging with them in a way that we want them to be successful. So this is me. This is how I would say it. You would put this in your own words. But I would say I've noticed certain tasks are not getting completed in a timely way. And I want to understand specifically what needs to be done in order to turn this around. So let's review. And I would have my list ready of those things that are not getting done in the way in which meet the expectations of myself, which should be in alignment with that of the organization as well. So I want to go over this list of what's not getting done to provide you, Mary, with the clarity and understanding you need that you need to succeed. So I would be having this one-on-one conversation with this person, and I would be going through this list of what's not being done. Now, this could be met with a little bit of surprise, defensiveness. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. So this should not be a combative conversation. This is a aha conversation. This is a I've just noticed some things aren't getting done in a timely way. I want you to understand specifically what needs to be done in order to turn this around. And you might have to have this conversation more than once. So here's the things that aren't getting done in a timely way. And I want us to have clarity on this. So there, this isn't, they might be of a personality that gets defensive, but that's not what this is about. This is, I want to know what I need to do to support you in you getting this accomplished. And that's the biggest part of this message. I want you to know that the support and the resources are here for you in order for you to do the job that I hired you to do, because that's what needs to be done. So I call that a success plan. And you know who writes the success plan? The employee, not you. Many times I have sat down and done performance improvement plans with employees with this same sort of feel. Not all. I've had some that have been very combative, very defensive, not willing to be open to change or to learn. And those go a different way. I'm talking about your new employees, newer to your department or newer to your organization, newer to you. Maybe these employees have been there for a while, but you're the new one in the department. So we're bringing this to light. And I call it a success plan because I'm assuming these people want to be successful within the organization, within your organization and within your unit or division or unit or division. So they write it. What happens is when I write it with them, then again, this becomes for them. What I want is I want accountability. I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel like I own this and I can do this. I want them to feel successful. So for them to do that, I need them to write the success plan for themselves. So I've pointed out where there may be shortfalls in performance, where we're not hitting the mark. And that's important because we're all employed to move the business forward. So when I'm working with the employee, we're going to walk through a process improvement plan with the mindset of this is your success plan. What do you need to be successful? And my job then becomes keeping those elements within the parameters of what's acceptable within the business. If they come to me and say, well, Marilyn, for me to be successful, I'm going to need another $5,000 a year. Well, that's not for me to make happen. That is outside of my role. I'm going to have to involve HR. Okay. So if that's what you need is more money, then that's going to be another conversation. But of the list of things that we have fallen short on in terms of expectation, performances like coming to work on time, showing up ready to work, being prepared for the day at hand, talking in a professional, polite, encouraging way to our customers and our guests, whatever the job might be, whether that be internal or working with external customers. What does that look like? How am I going to do that? That all goes in the success plan. So how am I, what am I committing to do in order to be successful in this role? I'm committing to work with a mentor. I'm willing to work with David here in the department, who's going to show me how to process these forms more efficiently and in a time effective way. I'm going to be open to feedback from my supervisor, whether that be me or somebody else, and incorporate that feedback into my performance. My success plan. So they're going to write these things down to course correct, and you're going to work with them in order to make sure those happen. So what does work with them look like? You're going to, if you're the one instituting the success plan, then you're the one meeting with them every week to make sure those things are happening. So you can see the plan is working and we can tweak it if needed. But that's what the success plan looks like. And it's not a one and done. We don't write a success plan, say, yeah, I committed to this, and not talk to them again until you're ready to dismiss them or for their annual review. This is something you're going to review on a weekly basis because you're ensuring their success. And if it still remains as a won't do, then there's another course of action, again, where we might have to find a better fit for that person. Might not be within your area. So I would recommend starting those conversations, delineate between is it a can't do or won't do, decide where you are, and commit to a success plan with that employee. Let me know how it goes, and be sure and let me know what additional questions you have with that to get your team going in a successful direction.